Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Monday, July the 22nd, and what another round of events this weekend. So we have all three US indices in the green. These were deep in the red on the weekend, and they have gone deep into the green now, thanks to the news that Biden has decided to step down and Kamala Harris, his vice president, is initially, at least, the Democratic nominee. That'll have to be stress test and go through the whole process that happens in the U.S. election. But wow, it is just this is a race that seems like it is reborn and is getting or is going to be quite exciting to watch come through, as all of the messaging now will change from the Republican side. And it will be a very interesting outcome. So what we're seeing in the markets is a shift in the Trump trade. So the Trump trade was really focused on things like private prisons and changes to healthcare and obviously lower taxes across the board, drill. So oil refining, these types of and then EVs and his non-interest in EVs, which really didn't hit Tesla that hard, which I found interesting, and that Musk put his support behind Trump, even though he runs one of the largest EVs in the world. All of that now is kind of on the sidelines and is up for maybe not debate, but is questionable, because we may not have a Trump win and a red win on the Republican side. So it's really thrown a bit of a wrench into things, and volatility is what comes out of that. So where are we today? Well, the indices are up. Crude oil is below $80 a barrel on futures, so down 51 cents pre-market. I can't imagine that we're going to end the week under 81.50 this week. So I do think crude's going to come back. Because it is down so much, there could be a buying opportunity there. But let's start with health and retail. So health and retail, we've got a little bit of green on the screen here on the retail side. Get down into the health side, and it becomes a bit of a mixed bag, with HCA up $5, almost $6, and Humana down $6, almost $6.50. That said, these numbers, if you've been following my videos, really are somewhat meaningless in the pre-market for these healthcare stocks. They can be up and down $8 to $12, $14 sometimes in the pre-market, and they open in a different direction or open even. So let's not read a lot into that. Let's see how they open. One of the stocks that typically doesn't have very much movement at all pre-market is JB Hunt, and it's up 67 cents. This is a stock that got hit with earnings last week. It was up in the mid to high 70s. It came down into the low 60s. I think it's going to come back down into the 150s. I'm staying away from this until it finds a new bottom, but that's where we are with that. Now we get into oil. So if we look at the oil stocks, green on the screen appears to be kind of the theme here, with an exception of SLB, which came out with good results last week. But we are moving into earnings season with some of these. So Valero comes out this week on Thursday, and I do expect the earnings will be positive for Valero. So I do think that its current price range in the 147, 148 range is probably a decent entry point to get into that, especially if earnings are good and crude futures starts to turn around again. I think that right now at 94 with earnings in 10 days, I think Con Ed is overpriced. If we look at the 6 month on Con Ed, yes, it has gone up here into the 96, almost 97 range, but I don't see a good justification for that at this point. I think this stock will pull back down into the 86 to 88 range within the next 30 days. So we'll have to see what the outcome is there. Now, as we scroll down further and we get into tech, tech is seeing a rebound. Don't forget, if you were watching the markets last week, you must have been on vacation. If you weren't, tech got pummeled. The NASDAQ got pummeled. Really a semiconductor retreat, but that pulled down the rest of the market as well. And it seems like We're going to get a bit of a rebound on that this morning. CrowdStrike, one of those of two companies that the one that really caused the huge outage across industries and sectors on Friday, down big pre-market, down almost $14. A lot of analysts changing their tune on this stock, worried about the repercussions of this outage and the effects it's going to have on them closing new business and new deals and signing on new customers. Probably a short-term challenge for them. Nevertheless, it's affecting the stock. And probably one that at this point I would, again, stay away from, wait for a bottom, and then potentially jump in. If earnings are strong in the quarter, which don't come out for a while, this company is it's going to release towards the end of August, beginning of September, where it may have found a bottom by that time. I think what you'll find is it will make a rebound, but I'm staying away from that right now. We scroll down further, Apple looking to be up $3 pre-market, CRM trading up, PanW. So PanW, Fortinet, and maybe even Cloudflare, some of the other cybersecurity oriented firms are getting a bit of a boost due to CrowdStrike's hit after that system outage due to a poorly tested, if tested at all, update package that was pushed out. Scrolling down further, we've got Microsoft recovering $3, so getting back up almost to where it was when it started the day on Friday. Microsoft to have results in 8 days, so we're coming up to the big tech earnings there. We also have Google reporting earnings tomorrow. ARM looking to make a bit of a recovery, still very overpriced in a price to earnings ratio. On taking a bit of a lift here, 7 days to earnings there. So obviously coming out next Monday. AMD getting a bit of a lift, 8 days to earnings. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out there. IBM is 2 days to earnings. So that's one of the tech stars that will be releasing earnings this week. This was a stock that was, if we look at the 6 month, it was up in the 190s. So it climbed into its last earnings announcement, and then it has dropped since, and it started to climb back. So I do think we'll hear good things from IBM, but it's not really a growth company, so we don't have that stellar kind of growth performance typically out of that. Lam Research making a bit of a recovery there. We also have Amazon making a bit of a recovery. Amazon's going to release not this week, but next week, and I do think that we're going to hear some positive announcements and news out of them. We heard from Netflix. Subscriber growth was positive, so they took a bit of a hit on Friday, but it looks like they're making a bit of a recovery. Alibaba not out in the near term in terms of earnings. It's one of the later ones to report. If we look at earnings, it's not until the 8th to the 12th of August, so beginning of August. So we're a couple weeks out from that, but it's been hovering in that 70 to 85 range. If we do get some positive earnings, I think this stock will get up into the 90, 95 range, but it's hard to say whether that's going to be the case. They are doing a ton of buybacks, so that should help earnings, but we don't know about the revenue side because the Chinese economy is still weak. NVIDIA making a bit of a rebound. I think NVIDIA is a good buy right now, especially in the teens here in the hundreds, 117 range. Because I think their earnings are still going to be positive and strong going forward. There's a lot of companies that have not even dipped their toe in the water around AI that are going to need to make investments in this. We've really only started to see the big names, the huge names, the Teslas, the Metas, the Googles, the Microsofts, et cetera, start to really buy and consume a lot of this technology. Adobe making a bit of a rebound, but their earnings are not for a while. And then TSM. So this is an interesting one because TSM actually had some good earnings last week. They got hit on those earnings, and then they got sucked down further in that turn of narrative around the semis, but this is a company that should be up in the 180s. So I think that it will see a recovery. I think if it opens down today in the 165s, it would be a great buy because I do think it should see 168 today by close and potentially even into the 170s, 175s this week as part of a recovery if the NASDAQ continues to move into the positive. And then we get down into banking. And again, more bank earnings coming out, more regional bank earnings. If we look at SoFi has been a bit of a rocket ship. And when I say that, I mean it's gone up from 620 up to now 755. It's been as high as the 780s. I do think it's still a strong buy at the 750 range, and it has got earnings coming up, but not in the next week or two. And then we get into the other regionals. So Bank of California is having earnings tomorrow. This is an interesting one. Earnings have been positive out of some of our other regionals, and we've just gone through some stress test results in the U.S. on some of the U.S. banks. I don't believe Bank of California was part of the 30-ish banks that went through the stress test, but the analysts are expecting worse than expected earnings on Bank of California. So if that does come out and be positive, then we could have a positive upside on that one. We also looking at Raymond James. It announced this week. This is a stock that if we look at the 6 month, it's been up in the 130 range, high 120s, 130 range. I do think that it's better positioned than say a Charles Schwab was going into earnings, and it's down in the low 108, 110 range. I think it's a bargain at that price, and I do think it'll pop up into, let's say, the 115, 118 range on earnings this week. JP Morgan continues to be strong, but I would wait for a bit of a pullback here. M&T had a good week last week on positive earnings. I would wait for a bit of a pullback there. Morgan Stanley down at 102. Could be getting into the buy zone. I'd like to see it in the 98, 99 range, but may not get down that low. Looks like it's going to open positive today. Goldman back at 184 is quite attractive. This is a stock that if we look at the 1 month, we've seen it get up to 510. It had good results. I think those results will continue to be good going forward. So if we do get a pullback here into, well, if we got it into the 460s, I would definitely be picking some up. Down here, I bought some back in the 440s. I did sell it early. I didn't sell it in the 510s by any means. I sold it in the 460s, but that was a good little uplift. I think that it could come back a little bit more as the narrative fades on big finance, big investment bank names as we move more into the tech sector. I think an interesting move to watch today will be Google. Google's announcing results this week, in fact, tomorrow after market. And if you can get this, if it comes back down into below 180, 50, 180, 60, I think this could be a bit of a bargain. I think it's got they're saying there's a $8 or $9 swing on this up or down based on how results and earnings come out tomorrow. So this could be a very good one. This is a bit of a sleeper. I mean, a lot of people don't give Google the credit it deserves. It's a phenomenal company. And I do believe that the earnings will be very good, as will revenue coming out of them this week. So that's where we are today on the 22nd. I hope you're liking these videos. If you are, please subscribe to the channel.